Hey, you guys.
Hey, oh my God.
Congratulations on the show, guys.
Thank you.
I am a huge fan of the original film, so...
Uh-oh. Here we go.
No. The thought of doing a TV show actually was quite exciting and going back in time and all that kind of stuff. When you had your initial conversations, did you have any trepidations? Did you know exactly what it was, or how did what was the genesis for you guys in terms of getting involved?
I knew the film and I knew the title. It's catchy, right? And I remembered watching it when it first came out, and then I rewatched it. And you're absolutely right, I was trepidatious because it's such a classic and so beautifully performed and created. So, but actors do that to find what they're doing now, is they go, well, how did this character get here? Let's do a creative process of imagining. And so this series is just an imagining of how that journey happened.
That's a brilliant answer.
Thank you.
And we're done. Thanks, Mike. Fist bump. No, I absolutely, I did know the film very well, and I'd watched it a number of times, and had just directed Ray Winston in a film, and
Ka-ching!
Yeah, just saying, and so it was really weird, and Ray and I talked about the process of it, and I had loved what McShane did in the film, and so yeah, daunting. But as Tamsin so beautifully said, this can't be that. That is an 89-minute, tight story that Jonathan Glazer has the ability to hold off, and it's about male power, and it's about emasculation in some ways. It's about forcing men to do things that they absolutely have walked on from. They're in the film, they're dealing with the consequences of their actions and the consequences of something that's happened. We're 6-7 years before that, and we're dealing with people who have got to a certain level in the underworld, who are all putting their head above the parapet, who are all starting to rise up, and every single one of us, in our own way, is ambitious and wants to be something. And it's not where they're at, it's way before that. It's also like the middle of the 90s, and it's full of hope, and there is this pulsating soundtrack. And so you're getting to imagine who those characters are going to be. You're going in a line towards something that they're going to be, but they're not that yet. They are, and because the script starts when it starts, and I read the script, right? So the script's got no information about any of those things beforehand. So we got to sort of imagine who those people were in infancy almost. And then you've got a blank slate, you can be anything. But and there's no wrong answers.
Were you scared?
Terrified.
But I thought for you guys as well as actors, it's, forgive me for saying this, but I can imagine for you guys when you read the parts, they were very different to things you'd done before. Is that what kind of, for you as actors, that keeps you excited about your craft and everything else, that you get to play in a different sandpit? Because I can imagine for you guys when you read these, you thought, can I do this? This is it's a bit of a shift, but that's what I guess makes it exciting for you guys as actors, that you get to do something very, very different. Like
Can you imagine if my answer was, I read this and I thought, oh yeah,
that's
finally. Oh, they know me.
I read it and I went, this is Tamsin Greig. I hope they can get her. I personally, I live in America and I very rarely get to do English stuff. I've been and I know it's going to sound weird, but I've only played English like 3 times in the last 15, 16 years. I mostly do American characters. And so it's quite odd coming back and becoming English again. And I know that sounds like a weird thing, but I've had this conversation with quite a few of my friends who have done that. And so I came back and spent some time with my best friend in Southend, and who's a forklift truck driver. And there's once you're in it and you've sat down and you're back in it and you're sort of rooted, I didn't feel so scared anymore because I know these people and my family are from this area. And so actually my character is a power broker. He's very still and silent, and he is in control, and he's one of those people who retains his status by doing nothing, by asking you a question and then letting you fill that space. And that silence in between the question and the answer is what he's interested in. You know, so that was really...
So you got paid to do nothing?
Like you usually do.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen the videos. I did some research.
I loved the fact that the casting director had even thought of me for this. Here's a little bit of insider information. The casting director, Rachel Freck, cast Greene. So she knew me of old, and here's another piece of insider information.
You send her a Christmas card every year.
I mean, she lives with me. No, she doesn't. No, she's. We were at university together, so she was.
See, it goes on and on.
Yeah. So she,
Nepo baby.
Well, she was in the year below, so she saw the sort of work that I was doing there, which was very varied and surprising, probably. And so she just remembered that and thought, when they were saying we need somebody who's a straight actor but can also deal with the frighteningly dark hilarity of Cecilia thinks Don is hilarious and ridiculous.
That mixture in the first film was one thing I was going to say. The mixture of the dark comedy versus the darkness, if you like.
We do definitely
was so good. It's done so well. Do you enjoy doing both of those? Because, like you say, your character or both of your characters, very dark on one side, but also enjoy the kind of the dark humour of it all.
One of the notes I got early on, which was really helpful for me, having watched Ian McShane, who's just wonderful in the film, was. And I was being very still, and I was being very cautious in being too expressive. And one of the notes I got was, he's not there yet. And that was fantastic, because then I was able to go, oh, he hasn't developed into that. So there was a way to enjoy the laughter, to be happy. To when he's happy, he can be happy. He doesn't have to be like a tiny, tiny little smile. There's the thing about our two characters, which I found really interesting, is that they're cut from the same cloth. They are in that they're able to control people by the menace that they invoke, and he does it to people around him, and mostly Tamsin does it to poor Emun.
To Don.
To Don.
There's a very beautiful little line in one scene that we have, which is a fantastic three-hander.
With later on in episode 5.
Paul Kaye plays Stan so brilliantly. Actually, it's a four-hander because there is a glass of a drink that's got bubbles in it, which they cut to every now and then, and the bubble just goes... Thinking,
it is a magnificent scene.
It's really beautifully cut.
It's like your Jurassic Park moment with the water.
The thing. Yeah. That's
so
really, the bubbles going, oh, we're in trouble here.
Here comes a dinosaur.
Guys, I wish you all the best with the show. Thank you so much for your time.
Don't go.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys.
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys.
Hey!